All right, we're live on there. So this is Andrew Prince. I'm interviewing Robert Dubon. He's the electrical service manager for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. He's in charge of our HYPE program, which I believe is the Home Energy Improvement Program, where they try to improve customers and other facilities for the
Yes.
purpose of making it more efficient energy-wise. And the course that we have is a leadership lesson where we're learning in this class that leadership is a function of three elements: the leader, the follower, and the situation. These elements are constantly interacting and influencing each other and the entire leadership dynamics themselves. So these 5 questions I will be asking will focus on these three elements for the most part and how they interact with each other.
Okay.
So question 1, focusing on the leader as the first element of this leadership model, what do you think a leader as an individual should bring to the leadership process?
So for me, one of the biggest things is honesty. Um, you have to be honest in your interactions with your employees or your coworkers. I think you're building a foundation to work from. I think as a leader, it's important to build integrity, um, to build a relationship, to build trust. You can't have a relationship without trust, in other words. Um, and from those things, you're kind of setting yourself up as a role model to other employees, and you have to keep that in mind. Um, don't gloss over that lightly. People learn from other people, so you have to have consistency. If you're inconsistent, say you're being fair and objective with one person and not the other, that's you're also communicating that way. I think communication, they in the last class that I've been to regarding communication, they say that's up to 70% of communication is nonverbal. So it's not so much the things that you say, it's the things that you do more. And if they're in alignment with what you say, that's how you start building those things. So for me, it's trust, building a relationship, integrity, honesty, being a genuine person that they can that they're interacting with.
Okay, I appreciate that. I see the evidence of that in a lot of the way you do things around here. So question 2, focusing on the followers as the second element of this leadership model. What kind of knowledge and skills have been most helpful for you as a leader to effectively lead your followers?
Well, knowledge and skills. I think an important thing to have is emotional intelligence. Now, having said that, it's not something that I think everybody has. You could probably learn about it, be mindful of it, and that's a start. Some people naturally have more emotional intelligence than others. And basically, what emotional intelligence is how you navigate in your interactions, again, your interactions with your coworkers and employees, and um, I guess in a way being mindful of the things they go through, how they're reacting to things, their behavior, um, and emotional intelligence. Maybe when to, if there's a time to joke, there's a time to be serious. Emotional intelligence helps you navigate through those things. The other thing, and that's something that you and I talked about earlier, I really believe I put that on a high scale that as a role model, as a leader, um, I should have control over my emotions and I should not be conveying. So, for example, if I'm having a bad day, that bad day should not be passed on to my employees, my followers, in other words, and because that sets a bad tone. And say I have a supervisor under me, and that's how I behave myself. What I could expect when I'm not around is that supervisor passing off his bad day to the employees. Now I have a bunch of people that think that that's okay and that's normal behavior for a supervisor or manager. Um, Having an open door, putting yourself out there, being available to your employees, I think is a big thing. Um, so one thing, in order to have trust in a relationship, security is in there too, and having employees that feel secure in their job also means they have someone to go to, right? So, as you saw in my interactions with you, I was always made available to you. We talked about that earlier today, where if you call me, even if I don't answer the phone at that time, you'll be getting a call from me shortly. If you email me, I'll respond. If you text me, I'll respond. So that availability, I'm noticing in other managers, they don't. It's almost as if I'm so busy answering all my emails, all my phone calls. You're just another one. Why would I answer that? So I think again, it's important not to convey those messages. But having an open door makes an employee secure. Who would I go to if I have this question? If I have this problem, how would I work towards a solution? I think a leader provides that to their uh, being available for their employees and followers is a big thing.
Okay. On 3, the situation. It's kind of a two-part one.
On that last one, could I add a little bit to that?
Yeah.
So, what you said, skills, knowledge and skills. I think it's again emotional intelligence, to empathize with your employees. Being a good storyteller, that goes along with communications. Being a good storyteller to me means you can visualize something well enough to convey that to the people you're talking to. And that visualization or conceptualization also translates into I know what my employee is going through. Therefore, I can visualize that and come up with a solution or something that might take care of the problem. Just a couple things I
Yeah.
remembered.
I think the emotional intelligence is a good one. So focusing on the situation is the third element of the interactive model. Can you describe the top 3 situational challenges within or outside of your organization as a leader that you're facing today?
So for me, it's funny because when I became a manager, I'm someone that kind of evaluates myself and monitors myself. And when I became a manager, I was noticing a shift in some priorities, where my ego was a was something that became a factor, and so I felt it was important. Say, for example, um, before I became a manager, I would joke with an employee, and after I became a manager, that employee came and joked with me the same way. Nothing really changed, but all of a sudden I became a little more defensive, or took it a little personal. So I had to reevaluate myself and said, what really changed? The only thing that changed in this equation was how I received something. So I found myself stopping myself before acting on something, and most of those times it's something of ego. If you're speaking in front of a crowd, there's always going to be somebody. There's going to an outburst or something that you don't like. Um, Again, going back to the first questions, you need to show everybody that you're in control of yourself. If you're not in control of yourself, how are you going to be leading anybody? So, um, so again, everything you do, you're being looked at. Your reactions, your behavior. Just like you in your job, you'll be looking at the behaviors of other people. So it's important that you show control when you're expecting other people to control that. So ego is one thing, and it's not just that. Gave you a description of the ego of myself and or my ego and one encounter with that. But one challenge for me is dealing with the egos of other managers. Um, that manifests in so many different things that I feel gets in the way of doing the work. Um, for me, how would I explain it? If you were, there's one scenario when you're studying or for an interview for being a man, to be a manager, and in EEO, you should not be adding, you should stick right to the elements of the job in your interview questions, and make them specific to the job and not add anything else. That question describes, say, one of your interview questions that you're asking someone, what's your age? What's your gender? What's your ethnicity? Those things, those elements have nothing to do with the job. Um, when managers are adding ego to the job, now you're having to deal with so many other elements instead of just the job itself. So that is a challenge in itself. You remove the ego, I believe you'd probably get rid of half the problems that you have at work, because that ego will make you maybe be dishonest, maybe cover up some lack of knowledge, maybe it could manifest into a lot of things. It could cause bad blood between different employees. So ego is one of those things that is one of the biggest challenges. Number one on my list that you have to encounter. So going back to that same model, at work, it should be all about the work and not adding anything else to it. So, did you say list three?
Yeah, so like situational things,
Oh,
like outside of just maybe employee personal interactions. I think probably a big one a lot of people are thinking right now is like the social distancing
oh,
changes the situation of how you would be able to handle those.
oh.
Any other ones that you can think of that it's more of like a situational challenge than like a personnel challenge?
So situational challenges. Right now in Hype, because of COVID-19, Hype is kind of put on hold right now. So there's a lot of challenges that are coming out of that. And what I mean by that is because of COVID-19, we're not ready to enter into um, uh, residents' home to do our normal flow of work. So we're actually looking for alternative work within the organization to do. We're hiring a lot of people getting ready for that opening of Hype and going back into people's houses. I'm having conversations with corporate safety to address the safety aspect, what kind of safety, how the challenges of keeping all the employees busy, even though they're not doing their core function of work. So that's one of the challenges. COVID-19 also, I experienced that with you, having to have training, classroom training during COVID, the introduction of WebEx style technology to continue forth with the training employees. So yeah, that's one of the situations I can think of. But and there's another one that was two
That
or
was three actually. I got the
okay,
ego was one situation where
yeah,
you'd change from one position to another, and the dynamic has been modified. And then the delay of the work, so a lot of idle time with employees probably changes your interactions with them because they
yeah,
feel maybe not busy or
yeah.
like they're supposed to be doing something. And then the communication barriers that are due to the COVID situation because now you're having maybe non-tech savvy people
Yeah.
communicate via email or WebEx or something like that.
One other one I could add, just a real brief one, is that I'm over the group is divided in half of the valley side and the metro side. I'm obviously here in the metro, so those are the employees I interact with the most. But I don't want to neglect the employees on the valley side, so I do go out there. Maybe don't see them as much, but I still make a point to go out there and interact with them.
So physical distance from them is an
Yeah,
obstacle.
yeah.
Okay, very well. Um, The second part to that one is, can you describe the mindset and skill set necessary to manage situational challenges as opposed to interpersonal challenges?
Well, one thing that I find that's helpful to me is it's being open to ideas, whether they're other people's ideas or your own, to try new things. Don't be afraid to try new things. And some people, I think, will stay away from trying new things because of several reasons. It's uncomfortable. You may fail, but I've actually experienced more successes and less fails out of trying new ideas or being open to someone else's ideas. Like my employees' ideas, I've benefited from that a lot. Just being that open door policy, being open and receptive to their ideas. Um, I can think of a handful of really good ideas that I got just from having that conversation. Um, I don't want to be the manager where it has to be my idea or it's, you know, I don't want to take the glory. I mean, if somebody else gave me the idea and it's one of my guys, I equally am proud of that happening that way. I don't need to try to dress it as if it was my idea or anything like that. I don't have any problem with my employees getting the credit. So I think that's a valuable thing, being creative um, and open to new ideas. Being creative um, and just exactly like I said, you're open, receptive, and not willing to just stick to the same old stuff, um, which happens a lot, actually.
Yeah.
What was the question again? I
Oh,
just
it's
wanted to
just
see.
the skills and mindset necessary to manage situational challenges. So, open mindedness and creativity, um, willing to take calculated risks and try new things.
And one thing that I could say for me, this one is I don't know if that applies to everybody else, but I over the years I've actually analyzed situations and scenarios in the past and felt like, okay, why did this go this way? How could it have gone differently, better, or what could have been an alternative route we could have gone? I do spend time thinking of that, and it's an accumulation of having spent time analyzing those things that I can apply them to a situation today. I don't think every idea, this is where the creativity comes in. Every idea is a rehashed idea from something else. Sometimes it just comes out of a mixture of you applying yourself, but you really have to apply yourself and being used to uh, expressing yourself in order for a situation to go well. So um, that's why I don't treat my employees in a way where their ideas are not welcomed. I would rather have that openness for it to come out rather than them be reluctant or scared to give me a thought or an idea. So anyway, that those are some skills I could think of um, to apply towards situations. It's a little bit of experience, it's a little bit of creativity, it's a little bit of past analyzing, um, and but that creativity will get you past. I've never seen this before. Well, what elements have you seen before? And let's see where we can go with this. So that's how I would answer that.
All right, perfect. And then a lot of what you've already covered probably could fit into this category, but what type of advice would you offer me personally as I improve my skills?
So I would say so just that relationship aspect, that human interaction aspect. Don't gloss over that. Don't minimize that. Treat that equally as important as some of the other things you do. Not everything should be expressed in an email. Not everything should be expressed in a phone call. Um, I just last week, one of my employees who's only known me for 2 months, saw me, said, "Hey, Mr. Dubon, I wanted to ask you, what to what do I owe this constant interaction and attention that you give to our program? I have not seen that in over 10 years since so and so was our manager." And my reply to him was, "Well, in everything I do, I want to give my attention, my focus to, and I want to convey to you guys that I'm treating it as important as well." I mean, it is important. It's not like I'm only conveying it, but it's a reflection of how I do my work, um, how I immerse myself in this work because I want it to be a success, and so I that's what I owe this constant interaction, and I want all my employees to see how I'm engaged and how I'm interacting instead of sitting in an office reading emails or answering phone calls all day. So again, that I would say, don't minimize that human interaction and the value of it. And there is a little story that goes along. One of the things that I think is very important. If you've ever heard of Simon Sinek, he speaks to organizations to fix their culture. And in one of his talks, he visits the military and has some interviews with the military. And they describe different scenarios that they're in, life endangering scenarios. And he asked one military guy, "Why did you do that for your fellow man?" And with no hesitation, no pause, he says, "Well, he would do it for me." And so that speaks volumes to this leadership um, um, topic, because I want that with my employees. I want to behave in a manner, the honesty, the integrity. I want them to think that I'm going to do as much as I can to get them what they want, for us to get what we need as a group. And I'm upfront with some of them already. Some of the decisions I make is not going to be the best. Not everyone's going to walk away with the best decision that benefits them only. Sometimes it's going to benefit the group. Sometimes it's going to benefit my boss and not us at all. But out of my interactions with you, you're going to see that I'm not making decisions. I never try to make decisions that benefit. It's got to benefit us all, and that I am looking out for your best interests, so that when this decision comes around someday, that you're going to think, this guy's going to screw me. He's trying to screw me. You're going to know that I would never do that for you. That it's going to be a stronger feeling that you have, and that's what I want between my employees, because not every decision you make is going to be the benefit of any one employee sometimes, or it's just something that we can't accommodate. And but you'll know I tried everything I could for you, and the reason I can't do this is because I'm either being told, or it's against the rules, or I just can't do it for you. So, and they'll understand that, and they'll know every other time that I'm making those decisions the best for them, and we'll have that exchange, that he would do it for me type of mentality. So
I think this next question will be really good ending on that note then. So these are the questions that we were able to formulate on our own, so if they seem very tailored to our direct experiences here at work, it's probably because they are, because there was things that they had us fill in that we might want to ask you. And I don't know if there's any right answer to any of these, but getting your input on how you've been dealing with it, or how you recommend not to deal with it, might be insightful. So with that, in the current polarized and tribal climate, where many employees possess fundamentally opposing positions, it can be tempting to straddle the fence on topics or avoid committing to a decision. What can I do to maintain morale and trust in my followers while still committing to a specific course of action?
Yeah, so it fits what I was saying before. Um, and I've had real conversations with you in the past, Andrew, and you and Dennis have explained to me that, sometimes I will fall on that grenade or take that bullet, the of a metaphorical one, and for the sake of what is best for what your group needs or what you guys need, and even if I'm considered a casualty, because at that time I see that as the priority. Um, as a manager, as a leader, um, I have I'm empowered and have enough authority to survive whatever that metaphorical grenade or bullet is, and and you guys have seen that many times, where again it instills that, would he do it for me if I never conveyed that to you? Why would you guys work as hard for me? Why would you guys go out of your way to help me in certain situations if I'm not willing to do it for you? So again, I mean, sounds like I'm being a little repetitive, but when that bad decision or this decision I'm forced to make comes around, you guys know it's not coming from me, or I'm trying to tell you it's somebody else's when it's really mine, because you'll know out of those 9 times out of 10 or whatever number combination that would be, I am trying to do the best for you guys.
So, if I were to summarize it in my words,